Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can use CPDLC features within any aircraft on any sim. So this will work for the likes of X-Plane, P3D, Flight Simulator X. Now this video is going to cover or try to cover all aspects of what CPDLC is, as I know there are beginners who don't really know or understand yet what CPDLC is used for. And of course there will be some of you who do know what CPDLC is used for, so you may just be interested in the other parts of the video. So I am going to split the video into chapters just so you're able to navigate a bit easier. But in this video we're going to talk about what is CPDLC, what we use it for, when do we use it of course, and how you can benefit from using it as well. And I'll also be showcasing a few examples of CPDLC in the sim as well, just to give you an idea of when you would use it in flight and how you can use it of course to your best ability. So a lot of content that I try to get in onto this video, and I have been wanting to do it for a little while now, but hopefully you enjoy the video, and let's get into it. So we're going to first start off by talking about CPDLC. Okay, so for the first part of this video we're going to be talking about what is CPDLC. So CPDLC stands for Controller Pilot Data Link Communications, and it's essentially a system that has been created to allow pilots and air traffic control to relay messages to each other. Now, normally in the world of VATSIM we use voice comms to speak to the air traffic controllers, and obviously vice versa to the pilots. Well, this system allows the pilots and ATC of course to send messages to each other in an appropriate form through the FMC, and the ATC can then reply with information, and it allows less build-up of chatter on the frequency essentially. So if you're in a very heavy airspace with lots of traffic and you may be at cruising altitude, so you're not really worried about anything below you, you can just request a lot of information or anything that you need directly through a data link computer, which will relay the information to the air traffic controller, and then they can reply to you via a satellite uplink. So that is essentially what CPDLC does. It makes your life much easier in that regard. And of course voice comms are not completely thrown out of the window with this. Normally you would monitor the voice channel of the frequency just in case there were any issues, but normally all the information is done through the data link computer when you're in the air. So a very cool system that has started to become implemented now thanks to the Hoppie's Acars system. They have now allowed air traffic controllers to download the software and load it on the side with their VATSIM account. So if you have a VATSIM account and you log in and there are people offering the Hoppie services, you will be able to do what we're going to do today. So let's get straight into it, and I'm going to show you what you're going to need to do this today. Okay, so now that we've discussed a bit about CPDLC, I'm going to show you how you can install the program to use it. So you're going to want to open your web browser, and you're going to want to go to this website at the top, which is www.Hoppie.nl. Going to be presented with this homepage here with the 747 background. On the left we have a few options. We want to select the Acars section. Now, not to cause confusion, but there is an Acars section built into this application as well that allows you to use certain functionalities which also work with the CPDLC side, although the CPDLC is completely separate to the Acars system. They work very differently, as the Acars system is used to relay information to the airline company, and CPDLC is used to relay information from pilot to ATC and vice versa. So just two things to note there. But obviously if you click on the Acars section and you continue down to the bottom, you'll see there's a few options here to download. We just want to press the Acars Airborne client, and then we want to download the all-in-one installer here. Do not worry about the Airborne client 1.8. You can download it from here if you would like to, but from what I've noticed there isn't any difference whatsoever. So you can just download the all-in-one installer, and then once you've downloaded that, just go ahead and install it. Once you're done, you want to return to this website, and you'll want to click the Get Logon Code section. And this is very important. You will have to register for a logon code, so whenever you use this program or any Hoppie features, it will require you to enter your code, which will allow you to have logon access to the server. So you will have to give your name, your email address, fill out the anti-abuse riddle, gives you a clue there. And then once you have done that, you will be all ready to use the program. Now, before I show you what the program looks like when we open it, I'm just going to say if you would like to use it, you are able to see who is using it in real time on the left here in the message log. So if you were to click the message log, it's going to show you all the people who are using it in real time right now. So that will be a mix of pilots and ATC on VATSIM. Not to cause confusion again, but you will see here, especially in this line, you have a lot of airports who are using it, like Amsterdam, Heathrow, Manchester, I believe that's Liverpool. So something to note, these airports are using probably what is known as a PDC system. So they are using Hoppie, but they're also using it just for pre-departure clearances. So it's to give your departure clearances, and it's not actually a service that you would be receiving in the air. So if you were in the air and you were looking to use it, you would have to look for a FIR that would be showing their code in their remarks. So for example, we can see here Lima Oscar November November, which is London North, giving us CPDLC right now. So if you were to log on to that code, it would essentially give you CPDLC access onto London's network. So something useful to note, you can also check the remarks of any controller, and they should say whether they're offering PDC or CPDLC. If they're not, you can always come here just to quickly check who is online. Very helpful. But now I'm going to show you what the program is looking like. Okay, so once you've installed the program from the website, you should find your start menu directory, and you should see a new entry in there called Acars MSFS. Now this Acars system was originally made for FSX and was then converted to be supported with X-Plane and P3D, so you shouldn't have an issue there. But once that program is installed, you just want to go ahead and double click and open it. Do not worry about the other two, you shouldn't have those, should just be that one. It's going to open up 3 windows, and you may see this as well. Now this here, just to start off, is the CDU button. So when you're using your sim, sometimes this FMC will not be here, it will be in the background, and to get it back, it would be just to click the CDU button here. You're able to move it anywhere you need to, just for your own inconvenience, or your own convenience, sorry. And it's just a little quick button that allows easy, quick access to the system, and it will remain there when you're obviously flying. So if you need to keep an eye on it, you can, and it will change color when you receive a notification as well. So very handy to have. Now these windows here, the 3 that open up with the FMC, they all run in a sync with each other, and they basically allow the system to work as one. Now they do not take up any memory whatsoever. All of these programs are very low in resources, as you can imagine. They're a bit of a older software, but they work right out of the box. All you need to do is worry when you're first starting the application, you need to worry about the airborne station, as this may be the first time you're using this and you haven't used it before. So you will have to go to File and then Setup on the airborne station. You'll have a few options in here. It's very important you paste your logon code from Hoppie. That's going to be the first thing. Once you've pasted your logon code, you're then going to enable the network. You're going to announce on FMC your alerts, so if you get any notifications from the FMC. I've clicked clock shows UTC time, not sim, just as it's more convenient for me. You can obviously change that, it's up to you. And then once you have those options selected, you can press OK, and then the airborne station will connect you to the Acars. Now when you actually load into the sim, this should change as well from connecting to FSU IPC to initialized, and it should obviously find a connection. And when this is all running and set up, you can actually just minimize all 3 of these, and you can just keep the FMC window open. Do not close the windows because it will stop functionality with the FMC. I can't stress that enough. You will have to keep that open, but again, it will not do too much harm in the background. So as you can see, you have got it loaded okay. If it's working as such, you've got two options, Acars and ATC, and this is pretty much your FMC ready to go now. And it's pretty simple, as you can tell. There's only two options, one for CPDLC, one for Acars, as it is separated. You do have a config section here, which shows you a few options there of the pages. Do not press the computer shutdown page, because that will actually shut down your computer entirely without even asking you. So something just to note, if you need to close the program, you can right click on the CDU button and press exit, or you can just quit from here, which is obviously another option. But now that you have everything set up and ready to go, I'm going to show you how you can now use this in the sim. Okay, so we're in the sim now, and we are in the M-Sparks 747 today. We're parked on stand 536 at Heathrow, and for this demonstration we'll be using flight Shuttle 8 Alpha, which is the domestic British Airways route from Heathrow to Edinburgh in Scotland. This is just a quick, easy route, and it will allow me to show you a few examples of how the CPDLC and some of the Acars features are used in day-to-day operations. So we are obviously on the ground, we have our routing set in, and if it were the first flight, and obviously this would normally be the case if it were the first flight for the pilots and they were entering the aircraft in a turnaround configuration, they wouldn't have any information on their next flight, so to speak, such as load sheet or anything like that. So bringing up their Acars system, they would be able to fill out their information in this page, which I have just done so. So you would have to fill out the origin, which is Heathrow, the destination, the alternative. We'd filled in our flight number, which is Shuttle 8 Alpha, our planned departure, the ETA, and the company that we are obviously operating this flight under today. Now all of these options are changeable all the time, so you can update this page to the way how you need it to be. Obviously I've set in the information reflecting on our aircraft and obviously the flight we will be doing. The flight number is probably the most important part of this page, because as soon as you enter your flight number, it basically activates you online, and then you will be visible on the Hoppie's network. So as soon as you put in your flight number, it allows you to have connectivity, and if you go to the ATC page, which is the CPDLC section, you'll see that you have a flight number here as well. If you don't have a flight number, the data link here will not be valid. It will just say no comm or something like that, but obviously the data link says it's ready, so it's ready to connect to the environment that you need it to be in. Now obviously the information I filled out here just to be quick, but you would obviously fill it in regarding your flight. And then when you go to the request page, you'll be given a few options in here that you'll obviously may recognize from a few other videos and you've may seen in a few places. Now some of these features do work, but they do require a few programs, and sometimes you will have to upload information in certain ways. But there are ways to use the Acars system, such as the weather station here. You're able to click and you have our destination or our origin. If I click Heathrow, it will highlight it in big, and then I can request a meta, and then you'll see straight away that our CDU button in the bottom left has turned white to represent that we have a new uplink. When we clear that, it will go back to normal color, and then when we go to receive messages, it will show us our information, and at the top it says it's not available, which is wonderful. I'm not sure why it's not available. Could probably try that again. Request the meta. Oh, now it's given us Edinburgh, so that's very handy. So the winds are currently nothing at Edinburgh. See if we can try and get Heathrow. There we go. So we now have Heathrow's information, which is 0205. the QNH 1033, and that's all the information that we have in there ready to go. Now, I did say that I wasn't going to go too much into the Acars section, but I am going to give you an idea of how it's used on the ground. So essentially, like I was saying before, the pilots would enter the cockpit if they are in a turnaround position and this is their first flight. They wouldn't have the information they need for their flight, so they would have to request it through the Acars system. So obviously this is connected to the dispatch office of the airline, so they would be able to go to, for example, the load sheet section. They would be able to type in their flight number, the company that they are flying for, and they press send. After a few seconds, the FMC will receive the load sheet. You will get an Acars uplink request, and then when you go to the receive messages tab, you will now receive a load sheet. When you click the load sheet, it will open it up, and I've done this just to give you a bit of an example of what it would look like. So it would say AOC begin with the date, the load sheet, it would give you a message ID, the flight ID, so shuttle 8 alpha, obviously our origin, and then it would give us the final remarks. That's our flight number, BA1448, the date of the flight, and it obviously gives us all of our information such as the zero fuel weight, the takeoff weight, and everything that you need. So it kind of gives you an idea of how the Acars system can relay messages, and you can obviously confirm this with the company. Now, once the aircraft has completed boarding and the doors close, there could be a difference from the load sheet that you were given before boarding. So this is why you have a release section as well. Now, I haven't completed a release request for this, but obviously the release request section would give you the actual sheet that shows the correct weights for your departure, so what you would be leaving the gate with. Now, there's also another section which gives you your takeoff performance. So if you're using a program like TopCap, you're able to send this directly to the Acars system through TopCap, or you can save the information yourself. So with the takeoff performance request, again, you would enter your number, it would know the information about your flight and your weights, you would send the info, you'd wait for the takeoff performance sheet to be received. We have an Acars uplink, we can receive the messages, we'll go to the receive messages, and you see there we have a takeoff performance sheet. And there we go, we have takeoff from Heathrow on runway 09 right, because the winds have been changed. It's Golf Civic we're flying today, and you can see that we are using the RB211s, our 747-400, and then on the next page it will give us all the differences on the conditions, and obviously it will give us our thrust rates as well that we can use for the flight. So all of this information can be very handy for you if you would like to have this information on the go. It stays in your log for the whole flight, so you have it there when you need it. And it's just a very cool system that allows you to have the information implemented directly into the FMC, so you have it there all in one place. Now, once you have all of your information and you are ready to go, if you are connected to a network such as VATSIM, you are then able to start using the CPDLC features. Now, the first CPDLC feature that you would essentially use on the ground is the PDC section. Now, when you click the PDC section, it gives you a little request form, and this is where you're essentially going to get your departure clearance from. So you would select your flight number, the departing airport, the current ATIS that we have, the stand number, the aircraft type, the destination, any free text that you would like to send to the ATC unit, so anything that you would like to address about your flight, you can, and then of course you would type in the air traffic service unit, which would be the 4-lettered code on the Hoppie's website. So for example, we are in Heathrow today, so the 4-lettered code would be Heathrow, so we would insert Echo Golf Lima Lima, pop that in, and then we would press send, and then we would wait a few minutes, and then we would end up getting a receive message, but this time it would be through the ATC section, and this would then come to life because we would then be getting a message from the ground controller with our clearance, and that would then essentially start our CPDLC operations. So we would then be able to accept the message, confirm all the information, and then we can contact the ground controller when we're ready for push and start, and that allows us to get out on time and then nothing to worry about. So very handy and pretty useful if you like these kind of systems for when you're flying. So that's pretty much everything for the first set of when you're on the ground. Of course, there are a lot more things that you can do with the Acars page, but again, I don't want to go into too much on it. There is an in-flight and a post-flight section as well that obviously give you an idea of some information that you can type in. The in-flight allows you to do position reports to the company and to ATC, so a very useful page. But I'm going to be showing you the things that you can do with the ATC section now. Okay, so we're now in the air climbing up to flight level 240, which would be our standard cleared routing on ATC. So if ATC told us to climb flight level 240, we'd continue on that. When we pass around 12 to 15,000 feet, we can then initiate our CPDLC. So we are passing through London Centre, so we would go to ATC, and we would have a logon status, so we would type in Lima Oscar November Charlie, which indicates London Centre, enter that, and we now have an option to send the logon. So we're going to send the logon, and that's going to send to London Centre, and now we're going to wait for a response. So we have just received a update from our CDU, as you can see. We have now an ATC uplink, so we can now see that we have an ATC comm established as well. So if we press ATC, we now have a section available to us. So we basically have all the information in here that we need. So if we need to request an emergency, we can. If we need to request an altitude or speed change, we can. We can report anything that we need to. We can ask anything that we need to. A very handy system that allows you to speak directly. Obviously the log section here will be everything that is relayed from you to ATC and vice versa. So from here we can see that London have sent us a instruction to climb to flight level 300, so we can press accept, and we can now wait for that to say Wilco, which has been done, and now the ATC will respond an update on that, and now we can continue with our climb. So we're continuing with our climb through flight level 210, and obviously ATC have cleared us up to flight level 300. So on our ATC page, when we go to the log, as I was saying, this is everything here that you will see relayed between you and ATC. So all the messages are here. You even have an option to erase the log if it gets a bit clustered with messages. When you go back to the index, all of these options are now available for you to use, so you are able to relay any message or any information that you would like to straight back to ATC. So you could send a direct position report if you needed to when you're doing if you're doing an oceanic crossing or something like that. It can be quite beneficial, as you're able to fill out the information and send it directly to ATC without worrying. But that is pretty much it. You obviously can report different things if you need to, and it's obviously quiet on frequency, but if it was very busy, this would definitely be where it comes really handy, because you don't have to keep trying to get a word in edgeways. If you need to say something, you can just type it in on here, send it straight to ATC, and you know within a minute or two you're going to receive a message back. So it's very handy to use, and I'll also be showing you in a second how they would use it when connecting to another center. Okay, so we are now at cruise, and we are just approaching our waypoint to Cooper, and we're now heading into London North, the sector in the FIR, and I'm going to show you obviously how they would do it in real life, as the next center that we'll be using has CPDLC as well. So we just had an ATC uplink from London Centre, which is in here. They told us to contact London North on 132.95, so we responded with a Wilco, and as you can see we have inserted it there, so we would swap that to the comm that we have there, and obviously we would listen on frequency just to have it in the background. We won't be broadcasting on the frequency though, as the air traffic controller will switch us directly from London Centre to London North through CPDLC, which you're about to see in a second. Okay, so we're about to switch our centre, so we have agreed to switch to London North, which we have done. Now if we go to the Logon status page, it's going to show you our active centre that we are on, which is Lima Oscar November Charlie. Now we've just accepted to go over to London North, which is on Lima Oscar November November. Now our active centre is obviously there because we have been connected to London Centre since we were climbing through 12,000 feet. We decided to send them a contact. Now we just accepted to go over to the frequency for London North, but what is also going to happen is the ATC Logon page, as I speak, has just done it. It's going to show us the next centre page, so this is what we are going to connect onto now once the ATC has received our request. So a few moments have passed and we have now established a connection with London North. So as you can see, it is the next centre that is going to be obviously us connecting to. So in a second it should switch the active centre from centre to London North, and then the ATC Logon status page, there we go, has updated, and now we are continuing with London North. So you can see how easy it is actually done in the system. So whenever you are switching from sector to sector within airspaces, you are literally able just to confirm that you're swapping frequency in the uplink, and as soon as you confirm that, the controller will hand you over through the index to the FIR unit, and then it will change in the next centre to show you which one you're going over to. Once you've been accepted into that FIR, it will then change to the active centre, which is on there now. And if there was another centre on ahead of London North, it would show you the next centre expected after London North. So the system definitely does keep up to date with the amount of centres that are on, and does understand kind of the gist of what's going on as well. So really handy, and I just wanted to show you truthfully some of the things that you can do with this, because as you can imagine, on a very busy day it will be very useful to you, and I just think it's quite a cool feature to have when you're flying in the sim, that you don't have to rely on voice now. If you need to, you can just relay everything through the ATC index, and it's a nice little feature to have, especially when you're on long hauls. And of course, if the air traffic controller doesn't have the service available, you can always message them or her and ask if the service is available. 9 times out of 10 they'll either turn it on for you or just say that they're sorry and they don't have it installed. But as we continue heading into the future, I know that there are a lot more networks such as Postcon who are starting to implement their own version of CPDLC, so I think VATSIM will continue to adapt to that, and I feel more controllers will get the hang of it being side-loaded with VATSIM as well. But that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover up when it comes to the FMC. Obviously you can do a lot more with this, and I'll obviously let you have a little play around with it and just to see specifically what you can do. Obviously if you are connected to a centre, you will be able to relay your own messages. So for example, on the when can we expect cruise climb to, so if we were going to flight level 380, we can put flight level 380, and then automatically it gets rid of all of the options because it knows that we've requested the cruise. So you could verify it, and then it will send it in a box. So you can see it says when can we expect cruise climb to flight level 380, send any text you need to, then you can send it, and then it will send directly to the London network, or whichever network that you may be connected to. So something very handy to note, and something obviously very useful to have if you enjoy this type of technology and if you're maybe not 100% comfortable with doing voice comms all the time. So something definitely to use. Okay, so just before we finish the video, I wanted to cover just one last part, as we've basically seen all of the ATC features that have been introduced in this version and that you can use directly with the aircraft. Obviously in the Acars section we've covered some of the information in there as well. Obviously the arrival information and landing performance we didn't preview, but it does work, again in a different way compared to the CPDLC, so something to cover in another video. But at the end of your flight, when you actually finish and you're parked at the gate with engine shut down, you're able to change the window and bring it to post-flight, and then you'll have an option at the end that says current flight event times. When you click that, it will basically give you a little page where you can actually fill out the information on your flight that you've done today. Now, most of the information may already be filled out for you if you're flying at the correct time with the correct time in the sim. It should fill out all the info for you, and then you should have an estimated time of the block and flight at the bottom here. And you can obviously change that to what you need it to be, and then when you're done you can send it on the bottom right hand corner, and then it will send it to your company. Obviously in this case we were showing BA, but you can change it to anything you need to, but obviously it will then relay the information back to them like they would do at the end of the flight. So something quite cool for you to have a look at. But once again, I do hope that you enjoyed the video today and you found it helpful, and I hope that this program will benefit you for your future flights if you do enjoy CPDLC. If you do have any questions at all or anything that I may have missed in the video, do feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. Obviously I will try and do another video soon where I'll cover a bit more on this, and obviously some other aspects that I may have missed out during this video. But for the meantime, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.